everybody, I'm Ross the Boss. I'm here in La La Land, and it is Trade Tuesday. Deadline is in about an hour, Casey Scheinfeld. Big stuff happened today. We'll get started. Justin Verlander. I just got the news how much the Mets have to pay out to Houston for the salary.
Oh, really? I know they're taking a huge chunk of Scherzer's. How much are they taking of Verlander's?
They're taking about 75% of his salary they got to pay out. Basically, they got to pay $29 million. He's getting paid from Houston $29 million for the next couple of years.
Right.
That's so. And Houston, as you know, they gave away the 70th prospect in baseball. Their number one prospect in Houston. That's who they gave to the New York Mets. But I mean, he was the big deal today. I mean, he was it. I mean, everybody else was kind of like, boring. I didn't really care. I mean, Rich Hill. Ooh, Pittsburgh got Rich Hill to San Diego. Wow. Yeah. Who cares? But I mean, Verlander going to the Astros. I mean, they have Valdez and Verlander in the playoffs now. How much do you think that's going to help the Astros, Casey?
Well, I mean, they're with all the injuries they've had to their rotation. Obviously, if they can get Verlander to 90% of what he was in Houston the past few years, the arms race in Texas is really exciting for American League Baseball right now. So he could be huge.
I mean, he's won 2 rings in Houston. I mean, he had to agree to the deal first, which I thought he would say yes to Houston, obviously, because he won 2 rings there. He knows the town. He likes the town. He likes the owner. And he enjoys playing for Dusty Baker. But again, Houston, I feel they have to be the odds-on favorite now in the American League. I mean, Tampa Bay's been fluttering. Texas Rangers, they improved. They got Max Scherzer, and they also got some other weapons too. Yeah. But I would say right now, my pick I like Baltimore too, but I would say Houston and Baltimore are my 2 favorite teams right now in the American League. Casey, how about you?
Baltimore's my favorite. I mean, they're not my favorite to win. They're my favorite to watch. I like their players. I like the youth, the energy they play with. I think Texas right now is probably the best all-around team, especially I know they were trying to swing for Jordan Hicks. Did they get him? Do we know?
Jordan Hicks went to Toronto. We'll talk about that.
Oh, that's right. He went because
he went to Toronto. I mean, St. Louis, it's been like a fire sale there. I mean, they've been getting rid of everybody. Yeah. And talking about St. Louis, they also got rid of Paul DeJong from Matt Swenson, the reliever for Toronto. And I think, and you even said it in our chat, that Bo Bichette couldn't even walk yesterday. I mean, he's really hurt. I mean, it's not a joke. There's no way he's going to be playing today. There's no way. I mean, he could be out for the rest of the season. I mean, there's no way he could walk to the bathroom this morning. There's no way. I mean, this guy's really hurt. They got Paul DeJong, who you and I both know is a streaker. I mean, this guy either is really, really good or he's really, really bad. There's no
he's either striking out at a 70% clip or like carrying an offense. There's really nothing.
I mean, he's that good. But change your scenery, American League, DeJong, batting in that order with Vlad to the Bowen and everybody else. I mean, it's going to be a great, I think, September to watch in the American League. There's a lot of teams that really are trying to get better. So Paul DeJong went to the Blue Jays. The Michael Lawrenson, the pitcher from the Tigers, who's built like me. I mean, the guy like works out like a maniac. This guy lives like an Adonis on the mound. He actually went to the Phillies. What's your take on the Phillies, Case? You live in Pennsylvania. What do you think the Phillies are doing there?
They are. The wild card is wide open for them. They're not going to catch the Braves. I don't think anybody's catching the Braves in the NL East. But with all of who are the prime wild card contenders? I guess it's Arizona, Miami.
Milwaukee.
Is there anybody else?
Milwaukee or Cincinnati,
whoever's flip-flopping back and forth. And so, I think Milwaukee's going to win that division with all respect to the Reds. I think the Reds' year is next year, to be honest. I think the Phillies getting a third starter to go with Nola and Wheeler is obviously essential if they're going to make a run in the playoffs. So like they did last year. Remember, last year they stunk and then made this wild run starting in like August and ended up in the World Series. And maybe they're thinking they'll catch the same fire. Trey Turner's shown signs of life lately. Bryce Harper's playing first base, which is interesting to watch. So
and Taijuan Walker has 12 wins.
And Taijuan Walker has been
12 wins.
Really well. Yeah. So
I didn't predict that. Yeah, unbelievable.
And Craig Kimbrell is doing a decent job closing. They just got Sir Anthony Dominguez off the IL this week. If he figures it out and Alvarado pitches well, like they can shorten it to a 7-inning game. Like that's pretty good for them.
I agree. I think I'm worried about the Phillies are a team you got to be worried about if you're a National League team. I think they're that good and they have that much hitting and they have not put it all together yet this year, but I think they will. Let's talk about.
Well, hold on. Say hi to Uncle Ted for me.
Mitch Garver time. Uncle Ted, good morning. No, good afternoon, Uncle Ted. Says, I don't know why I say good morning. You're not in Hawaii, are you, Uncle Ted? You're on the East Coast or West Coast, doesn't matter, but it's good afternoon. Rich Hill went to the Padres with Ji-Man Choi, which I think is a good move for the Padres. Do you think the Padres will make the playoffs?
I'd have to look at the standings. I don't see unless the Marlins or the Reds kind of show their youth during crunch time and fail. I don't necessarily see them catching either of them. And then it's down to the Phillies, and I like the Phillies better right now.
I agree. I think the Phillies, again, we'll talk about some of the pitchers that I think should pick up in waiver wire too, that I like a lot.
The Padres remind me a little of the early 2000s Yankees. They won, the Yankees won the three-peat of World Series in 99, 2000, 2001. And then the original Steinbrenner decided he was just going to buy all-stars and put them at every position and create the scary Harry Monitor, the Jason Giambis and that whole crowd. And they couldn't win. They put all this talent together, but didn't care about developing a team or developing chemistry. And that kind of seems like what Preller took with the Padres when you add Bogarts to Machado and Fernando Tatis and Juan Soto.
And they have 8 all-stars on that team, Casey. And I feel the guy who's running the team is like a fantasy baseball player.
Yeah, it's a great fantasy team, but in reality, like when you look at the Yankees in the 90s when they were winning, it was Scott Brocious or Charlie Hayes at third base, Paul O'Neill in right field, Bernie Williams in center. Like you had your stars, you had your Derek Jeter, you had your Tino Martinez, you had David Cones and David Wells and all these top of the rotation starters. And of course, Mariano Rivera, but if they didn't just put all stars in, if they needed a number 5 hitter, they put somebody who batted in the 5 hole, somebody who batted in the 8 and in the 2 hole. And that's how they built that team. That's what Baltimore, Tampa Bay, they do that really, really well. The Yankees and now the Padres just don't.
Let's talk about the Yankees real quick because I love talking about the Yankees because you're an avid Yankee fan.
This week it's fun.
You're an avid Yankee fan. Judge came back, and all of a sudden, all the Yankee fans said, "Oh, our troubles are solved." They're not solved. No, I think a big problem with you guys is Boone. I think he has to be fired. The way he runs press conferences and the way he runs the team is just horrible. I mean, I don't think he's a good manager, and I think Cashman is worse. I think those two guys together make a horrible combination. Both of them should be gone. I don't know why you guys keep both those guys. I think Cashman does the lineup every day, and I think Boone does all this stuff during the game. That's my own theory. But again, I just feel the Yankees need to change immediately. I mean, they're not going to win with those guys running the reins right now, and I think it's a group effort. I'm not blaming Boone by himself. I'm blaming Cashman too. What's your opinion about the Yankees? What do you think they have to do to get better? What will we ever see the Yankees dominant ever again in the American League?
I'm going to always watch and cheer for the Yankees, but they're not fun to watch at all right now. They are not a well-built team. I don't know how much of that is Boone's fault, but I do think Boone. I agree with you that Cashman definitely, I think, has lost his touch on how to develop a roster.
Lost his touch.
Well,
horrible.
Horrible. He was the architect of some pretty good teams, so I'm not going to deny.
I'm not talking about now. I mean, time has passed.
That's why I said Cashman lost his touch. But Boone, I think Boone's done a really bad job managing the bullpen.
Okay, good. You agree. But bottom 5 worst manager in the league, but keep going.
I don't know about bottom 5, but he has to go. I think if the Yankees are going to improve, if we're talking real baseball, they need to almost do a complete retool and start over. They need to do what Baltimore did, or Tampa Bay does really well, or Houston does really well, and that's focus on developing their own talent in the minors and build a program and a system that develops players, because they haven't done that other than Judge and Volpe. Severino had the potential, but
wait, hold on about Judge. Judge wasn't drafted by the Yankees. He didn't come up with the Yankees. I mean, maybe triple A, but he played single A and double A with, I think, the Oakland. I think the A's. The A's groomed them, I believe. But we do have a question. Christopher Atwater, the head of the
Yankees, drafted Aaron Judge in the first round of the 2013.
Oh, they did. Okay. For some reason, I thought he went to the A's. I don't know why. Maybe he played college baseball in California. Maybe I got that.
He did. He went to Fresno State.
Christopher Atwater, I'll say it. Chris Atwater, SEC Mafia guy, loves SEC, Alabama. He's unbelievable. He did not go to my wedding. All the rumors are not true. He was not at my wedding. But does Cano, is that how you say Cano?
Cano. Mark Canha. I'm sorry.
Mark Canha. Thank you. It's not Mark Canha, the Mets outfielder, moved the needle on the Brewers offense. People think this guy's like Willie Mays. He stinks. He sucks. No, he doesn't move the needle at all, Chris. Doesn't matter. He's an average ball player, maybe below average. So no, he does not make a big difference in the big landscape of the Milwaukee Brewers. Casey,
Uncle Ted, I respect you immensely, and you're very knowledgeable.
I do too. I love Uncle Ted.
Baseball. But Aaron Judge was drafted in the first round.
I agree. I'm not going to argue. I know he played baseball back.
A compensatory pick for when they lost Nick Swisher in free agency. That's who they took.
There you go.
He was never an A.
That's okay. Let's move on. So let's talk more about some of the moves. I'll just mention some of them. I'm not mentioning like minor leaguers for minor leaguers. So Brad Hand, Mr. Hand. What movie? Quick, Casey Scheinfeld, Mr. Hand.
You got me.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Mr. Hand was traded from the Rockies to the Braves to enhance that bullpen. The Braves just get stronger and stronger. I mean, their team is stacked right now, and all of a sudden they're getting bullpen help. Good luck beating them in the playoffs, Casey Scheinfeld. Good luck on that a lot. Let's talk about the biggest move I thought offensively so far. A team that I thought was going to be selling, but they're buying, are the Cubs. Jahmari Candelario.
Yeah,
Candelario. He is Candyman. He's going to play third base now for the Chicago Cubs, which I think is a huge signing for Chicago. Because 2 weeks ago, both you and I said the Cubs are going to be selling. We thought that they'll be selling some of their key players like Bellinger and people like that. They're not. They're looking to trade and get stronger. So bravo, Chicago Cubs. They got so far the biggest bat, I think, in the right now in the trade deadline. Yeah. I don't know if you agree with me, but you can. Also, Aaron Savell. I don't understand this. You can tell me why they're doing this. Why is Cleveland like they're not buying? They're selling. They just traded one of their starters, Aaron Savell, to the Savale to the Rays. I think they're only like one. I mean, first of all, Minnesota's lost 6 games in a row. I mean, they're playing horrible baseball.
Well, I think the biggest reason for them, honestly, and why they're doing it is they got Kyle Manzardo in the deal, who was one of the best prospects in the Tampa system, a first baseman who could have been up this year if Tampa wasn't playing so well at this point. He's that good of a player. So that is a big
got it
trade chip. Cleveland, honestly, the AL Central is very weak, very, very weak. And so they might make the playoffs, but they weren't going to do any damage this year with the way they're
Casey,
playing.
it's a 5-game series. You never know what can happen.
Only if they win the division. And then, so next year they'll have Manzardo under contract at a reasonable rate. They'll still have Gavin Williams and Bybee as starters, and Shane's still there. Like, they are doing a nice job. Bo Naylor has proven he belongs in the big leagues. So
he's great.
I think this team is going to be exciting in a year or two. And they, unlike the Yankees, they do a really good job of kind of moving players at the right time and promoting players when they're available, when they're supposed to be.
So the Diamondbacks made some moves. They got Paul Sewald as a closer from Seattle, who's probably one of the most disappointing teams, I believe, in the American League. I really thought they would win their division, but I was totally wrong. AJ Pollock went from the Mariners to the Giants, having a bad year, but you never know what he can do in San Francisco. Jas Peterson, who we talked about on our waiver wire show before. Yeah. Yep. He's now a Diamondback, which I like a lot. The Angels, to me, are the most active during this whole process. They picked up Randall Jershok and also CJ Cron. And they also picked up Lucas Giolito, too. I messed that name up pretty good.
Well, you messed them all up, but that's okay.
CJ Cron I got. But
CJ Cron you got right. Yeah.
I got it. But again, the Angels, to me, who I thought were going to be sellers. I thought Ohtani was going to be gone. I thought half these guys were going to be gone. I was wrong about that. They're buying. They're going to make a run for it. Ohtani's staying put. And what's your take on the Angels and all the doings they're doing?
Look, I think the trades that Houston and Texas just made kind of deflates them a little bit because they're all in the same division. But I think what Artie Moreno is trying to do is case for Ohtani and make a case for Trout because Grichuk is he's a decent outfielder. Here's the little nugget I will give you about Randall Grichuk. For those of you who don't know, he was drafted by the Angels in the first round, one pick before they drafted Mike Trout. They had back-to-back picks in the first round that year. They took Grichuk with the first one and Trout with the second. So they're bringing them back together.
The team's back together. The band's back together in Anaheim.
I think they're trying their best. I like the Giolito trade for them. Get him, maybe him being back in LA will be good for him to revive his career, getting him back to home. They're trying to make a run for that wild card because, again, you look at the teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox, they're not really selling it. There's nobody in the AL Central who's going to scare you for a wild card. So literally you got the winner of each of the divisions are a lock. Then you have either Houston or the Rangers, whichever one doesn't win. You have Baltimore or Tampa, whichever one doesn't win. And then you're going against the Yankees and the Blue Jays for the other wild card spot. And neither of them are killing it. So it makes sense from that perspective to say, let's see if we can get Mike Trout back into the playoffs so he can lose another wild card game and only play one game.
Also, Lance Lynn's a Dodger now at the Dodgers. I thought they would do better than Lance Lynn. ERA over 6.
Well, I think they're going to go after Eduardo Rodriguez still. I don't think the Dodgers are done. I think the Dodgers were probably, I agree. From what I heard, they were trying to get Justin Verlander.
It was between LA, Houston, and supposedly rumor was Baltimore. Those three teams, I think he would waive his trade clause. So Lance Lynn, Joe Kelly's back in LA again, which is a good move for the Dodgers. Randall Graveman, who was like the poster boy in the locker room for the White Sox, he was like the heartbeat there. He's gone. He moved on to the Astros, so they improved their bullpen. David Robinson went to the Marlins from the Mets. I mean, let's talk about Mets real quick. And we have a question. Andreas Munoz, I believe he pitches for Seattle. Value just went through the roof. He did. Yeah. He'll now close in Seattle, but Seattle's not even winning games. I mean, they're just so dead in the water to me. I don't know why.
Well, yeah, but they still have good pitching.
Gilbert, but Munoz's value went up. I think Gilbert could be traded too. I think that's another one. You said it, and I'll just talk about it.
But Gilbert, Henry, and Castillo is a good.
I think Gilbert Grape could easily be traded away from Seattle. As much as I think he had a great career in Seattle. I don't know if he'll be there by 3:00. We'll see what happens. I could be wrong. So the Mets. What do you do with the Mets now, Case? They got rid of most. Well, most of their talent is gone except the polar bear's still there. Pete Alonso.
I think they did what they had to do by getting rid of Scherzer and Verlander. I mean, I'll know they're eating most of the salary, but they're clearing up space to give their young guys a chance. I think you're going to see Ronnie Mauricio called up in the near future. You got Francisco Alvarez, who's killing it at catcher. You got Brett Beatty at third base, who has potential. You have Pete Alonso, who's your kind of established star at first base. I think they're going to go for the youth movement. Starling Marte, if he was healthy, isn't he hurt? I think he would.
I don't know. He's 35 years old. I would.
Right. I think he would be traded at this point if he was healthy.
Yeah. I mean, he would be gone. I mean,
so I think Steve Cohen tried to do what George Steinbrenner tried to do 20 years ago, realized it still doesn't work. And now he's trading. It's like what AJ Preller tried to do when he put Will Myers, Matt Kemp, and Justin Upton in the outfield. And it was the worst defensive outfield in baseball history, I think, for the Padres. I think you're going to see them now start to focus on youth and wait a couple years, because let's be honest, Atlanta's roster is just rock solid.
And Max Fried hasn't even pitched the past 3 months.
Right. But I mean, they're all like 27 and under. So the window for Atlanta is 4 or 5 years. And so like they're smart, saying we can't buy something that competes with them and keeps a window open. So let's develop, make smart signings, and see if as their window closes, we get bigger. Uncle Ted thinks the Mets are going after Ohtani. They certainly could, but from what I understand, Ohtani said he will only play on the West Coast. I'm not sure if that's true or not.
Yeah, he says it, but the Mets offer $900 million,
$60 million for 13 years. Yeah.
I was thinking like close to $1 billion, but he says that it's great, but I think he'll be an Angel for the rest of the season. I don't think he's leaving. I think the Angels are just going to either say to themselves, we'll make the playoffs and make a run, or it's bust.
Maybe they think they're the Phillies.
Or it's bust. Or it's bust.
Maybe they think they're the Phillies this year, who played terrible to open the season, got hot at the right time, and then rode it to the playoffs.
Again, I think they're making a huge mistake. I would have went for the youth movement. I would have traded Ohtani and got every minor leaguer in the New York system that they have that's worth anything. That's what I would have done. Chris Fratwater.
Wayne Huizenga bought a championship, so the strategy doesn't always fail. Yes, I assume you're referring to the Marlins. Yeah, back in 2001 or whatever year that was. He did, and then he gutted it, and then he did the same thing in '97, I think, when he won.
I mean, how much did he gut that team? Remember when they won, and all of a sudden all those guys were gone.
Beckett and Ryan Dempster.
I mean, all those guys just left town. They left Dodge quick after that parade. They were all were like looking for a new place to play. But I do remember that he did buy the team, and it did work. I mean, I'll give him credit. Sure. They brought a championship to Florida, and it does work once in a blue moon. But again, Cohen for the Mets really screwed it up. I mean, you're relying on two pitchers. One pitcher, Max Scherzer, who tires out in the fifth inning, and in October he can barely pitch anymore, which is a waste. And Verlander, who has limited pitching this year because he hasn't been playing that much, but he's the workhorse. He's the guy that I think can go 7-8 innings and strike out 9 or 10 people. I mean, I think Verlander's a guy that can take you to the championship and win your World Series again. Just because he didn't throw that many pitches this year. He really hasn't. And
I'm surprised the Orioles haven't gotten a starter. Like,
I don't think they want to trade I think everybody wants, who they want, Casey. You talk about it every week on waiver wire. So
but
who they want. They don't want some guy who's like playing single A and not sitting on the bench. They want the stars. And I don't think they want to trade. I think they're smart. I don't think they want to trade. So Baltimore,
I just can't imagine you think you're going to have this when you're in the same division as Boston and the Yankees and Tampa and Toronto, that when you are this good and playing this well, that you don't take the chance.
We'll talk about a little about waiver wire, then we'll go. But who do you think is out there still? It's 1:30 my time.
Well, I mean, Eduardo Rodriguez in Detroit is out there.
Okay, so Michael Lorenzo, they already traded All-Star.
Right. You got Jack Flaherty in St. Louis. You could
So
probably
Jack Flaherty still. Jordan Montgomery went to the Rangers. So
Jordan
we know
Montgomery went to the Rangers. I liked that deal for the Rangers. He's been a better pitcher since the Yankees traded him, if that makes sense.
Do you think Dylan Cease?
Dylan Cease.
Dylan Cease. Thank you.
Dylan Cease. Uncle Ted mentioned that too. But from what I understand, Uncle Ted, like Chicago's asking price for him is astronomical. Like they were asking for Jackson Holiday, who's like the #1 prospect in baseball from the Orioles,
first round pick. I remember.
And yeah, you're not going to give up that, right? You'd give up Heston Kjerstad or one of these like still tier one prospects, but not the best prospect in baseball. So I don't think you're going to be able to get Dylan Cease if that's where their standard is. But as you said, it's Seattle struggling. So Logan Gilbert or even Luis Castillo, maybe you can go. Chris, thanks. Glad for the feedback. Glad you tuned in wherever you're headed.
Roll Tide. Chris, excited about football. Can't wait. We'll talk more. So let's talk. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know who else. I'm racking my brain going through the teams.
No, I mean, I think we covered it. I mean, there's 90
Chris
minutes
Bassett?
left.
Has he been traded yet?
No, but he plays for Toronto. They're not trading Bassett.
That's
why
true.
Why would
I was thinking of Bassett last year with the Mets. I apologize.
Oh yeah. No, Bassett's staying in Toronto.
Yep.
Toronto's trying to buy people right now. They actually have that Korean pitcher's pitching tonight who hasn't pitched all season, Rao.
Yeah.
Who should be interesting. If he can pitch well tonight, Toronto's going to make a huge run. But I don't know how well he's going to do tonight. I think
last 2 weeks,
Baltimore.
Steven Matz has been dynamic. Maybe St. Louis will try to get something for him.
Yeah, if you're looking for Matz to save your rotation.
No, I know. I'm just saying if Boston decides to sell, Nick Pivetta could go. I'm just trying to think of guys.
Pavetta's having a great season. That's a good one. I mean, again, it'd be interesting if the Stars leave some of these teams.
If Mitch Keller could be pried away from Pittsburgh.
I think Keller's on the table. I think Pittsburgh wants a lot for him. Keller has not been pitching well in the whole month of July.
His last start was good, but he struggled to 3 or 4.
Been struggling, yeah. So let's talk waiver wire. We're not going to go position, but some of the trades have affected waiver wire, and I want to talk about it now. Ted has actually said Munoz for Seattle.
Yeah, Munoz is the biggest mover.
Well, I also think the other one, Hicks, is gone. So isn't Gallegos in St. Louis?
Giovanni Gallegos, yep.
Isn't Gallegos now the closer there too? So those are two closers that mean something that I like a lot, that I think that will make a difference, obviously, especially if you're looking for saves. Who else Casey, who else has been catching your eye? And I'll give you a few also.
Well, I mean, if we're talking ones affected by the trade so far, it's been almost exclusively arms that have been traded that have any real value. So there's not a lot of change in value other than Andres Munoz, or if Pittsburgh trades David Bednar, obviously you get some stuff there. I think batters, I still like Will Benson in Cincinnati. He's still tearing it up. Power and speed. Still batting 280 in the last couple of weeks. I think Marcell Ozuna's on one of those hot streaks where
Marcell Ozuna's a good one. I watch him play. I mean, Atlanta, all of these they just scored 10 runs a game. I mean,
I'm trying to look at positions that are shallow. Edouard Julien is doing well in Minnesota.
I just picked him up in the league. Also, Jake Berger, third base, 25 home runs. If you need home run power, I mean, Berger's going to have 35.
Wilmer Flores has been killing it.
Wilmer Flores has been on fire. Carlos Santana traded to Milwaukee. He could turn it around a little bit there. We'll see what happens when he gets there. Another guy I like a lot is Graham Ashcraft for the Reds. He showed he's been pitching great the past few starts. Also, Joey Votto of the Reds too. He's been destroying the ball the past couple of weeks. And he's under 60%. So there are players out there. CJ Cron has a new place to dwell now in Anaheim. I don't think
he's a former Angel too. I think that's where he was drafted and started his career. So he's going.
You're 100% right. He was.
But ironically, there's a lot of catchers on the waiver wire who are hitting well this week. Yan Gomes, Cal Raleigh, Alejandro Kirk, Gary Sanchez, Yiner Diaz. They're all producing right now. And so if you're struggling at catcher, Mitch Garver, obviously with Jonah Heim being hurt, but I think he might be over 60% because of that injury. So there's a lot of, I was shocked at the amount of catchers. Spencer Torkelson is still out there. His average isn't great. John Birdie plays second, third, short, and outfield if you need speed and somebody who scores runs and gets on base. There's some players out there that can help you at this point. At this point, you're not really looking at guys based on batting average, WHIP, ERA, because those things, you've thrown 1,000 innings. You're not changing your WHIP or your ERA very much with your starts at this point. You're looking for guys who are going to get you saves, wins, strikeouts. And then on the batting side, you're looking for the counting stats too. You're looking for home runs, RBIs, runs scored, stolen bases. You're not looking at batting average because you're not going to do much.
Also, guess who's coming back in Boston? He should be back this weekend, actually. Is Trevor Story is making his big attempt on a comeback. Not really a comeback, but he's playing in the minors right now. He's rehabbing, but he'll be back in the majors.
I think Uncle Ted is a Red Sox fan. I'm just putting it out there. He's got Cutter Crawford, Jaron Duran, and Tristan Cassis as must-adds. And you're right. They've all been playing great. Other than Cutter Crawford, though, I think they're all over 60% owned right now. So that's why we didn't.
I'm surprised you didn't put Trevor Story there. Also, for the Brewers, I like this kid, Sal Frelick. His right field.
Is he over 60% yet?
I doubt it. I mean, there's no way he's over 60%. There's no way.
He's at 40%. You're right. Okay, he's not hitting for power.
He has one home run. I actually saw the home run against the Reds. I watched it. So
yeah.
But yes.
But he's a hit machine who steals bases. So yeah, good ad.
Good ad. But I'm just thinking who else. I mean, we mentioned a lot of players already. Pitching wise, I like Christopher Sanchez of the Phillies. I said I was going to mention some Phillies. Also Ranger Suarez. I like him a lot. I like those two pitchers for the Phillies. I think the Phillies are going to make a huge run in September, and the pitching's really going to do well for them. You mentioned Bo Naylor, who I like a lot at the catcher position. I think he's a good pickup right now. And also, who knows? He also been killing the ball is Max Kempler. They can't win a game, but Kempler's been destroying the ball. His past 2 weeks, he's hitting over 300. I mean, he's somebody, if you need an outfielder, not a bad pickup. But again, I'm sure most of you people, their teams are set. Maybe you have some waiver wire guy you pick up once or twice during the week. But hopefully you guys all are ready for your playoffs because we're starting football. I'm starting to do football short videos already. So I'm excited about football. It's going to be a great season, and we will give you guys the edge here at MFSN. We'll talk about football. We'll go analyze each position. We'll have our stuff coming up. It'll probably be sometime in the next few weeks. But if you guys have any more baseball questions, we can answer them, right, Casey? Anytime, you just email us.
Always.
And we'll email them. Uncle Ted, what's it say?
Adbert Alzolay is a must add. And again, I agree with you, Ted. According to Yahoo, he's 66% owned, which is why we don't include him. We're trying to keep it 60% and under, but you're right. Like if these guys are available in your league, just because we don't mention them, just because they're over 60%, that means they're still available in 35% of leagues. Go get him. He's definitely worth it.
Destroying the ball. But again, we have about little under 90 minutes now. I'm sure there'll be some big trade deadline. I'm sure we'll see some more trades happening, and that could affect your team too. So just be aware. But I will be back here on Thursday with you and Dr. Dan Ratner, and we'll talk more baseball, and we'll talk a little football too.
We're going to start introducing football on Thursday, but we'll see.
Why not?
See what everybody wants.
Because the teams are in camps. And Hard Knocks is starting up next week, which I can't wait.
You are a big fan of Hard Knocks, yeah.
This year it's the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers, as much as he puts his whole facade that he hates the press, he loves the press.
Oh no, he's a media junkie.
He loves going on. He loves shocking media. He loves having fun, and he'll be great. He'll be the talk of the town on Hard Knocks. Trust me. He'll have some tirades. He'll have some great moments with Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be a great Hard Knocks this season. I can't wait to watch that. But I'm Ross the Boss. That's Flat to the Bone, Casey Scheinfold, and we'll see you guys on Thursday at 4:30 Eastern.